The New York Times ran a story the other day about hate crimes in New York City. They said, surprise, surprise, Jewish people are victims of more hate crimes than black people. Well, they got half of the equation right. They figured out that there's a lot of violence against Jewish people in New York City, especially in the Jewish enclaves of Williamsburg and Brooklyn. We've documented that here and in my books, in my articles, many, many times. Dozens and dozens and dozens of cases, many on video, black on Jewish violence. Hell, they even offer excuses for it. Remember the New York City Council, Lori Cumbo, said the reason there's so much black on Jewish violence is because black people feel that Jewish people are not sharing their success. Now, the New York Times knows this because, first of all, they live in New York. They know who's responsible for the crime and violence, no matter how much they don't want to admit it. A couple years ago, 2 years ago, I got a call from a reporter from the New York Times. He said he wanted to meet up. I said, okay, I was going to be in New York next week anyway, so we met up. He had never seen my videos or read any of my books or articles. He had just heard about me. He heard I was some wild, fire-breathing, crazy dude. But who was getting this big following for telling the truth about racial violence wildly out of proportion and how reporters and public officials are in denial, deceit, and delusion about it. So I went up there to meet him. We met in a Jewish deli right around the corner from the New York Times building. So, once this has also happened with me with the Wall Street Journal and a couple other big outlets. Once they find they're talking to somebody who probably has more reporting chops than they do, probably has broken more big stories than they have, then they kind of say, okay, this isn't the story I was planning on doing. They like the wild-eyed, crazy guys on the fringes and this vast ocean of people in the middle that are pretty much saying, hey, what's up with all this black violence and criminality? When I turn the TV on, I hear it's just the opposite. So when they don't want anything to do with that part of the story. So I'm sitting there in a Jewish deli eating a pastrami sandwich with this reporter from the New York Times. I don't think he was from New York. I think he was from the West Coast. We talked a little bit of California stuff. Anyway, during this lunch, which, I knew was over, like 5 minutes after we started talking, he wasn't really into it, but he invited me, we ate. But I said, what about all the black on Jewish violence in New York? You've got to see that happening, right? And he looked at me as if I was the man on the moon. Had the exact same experience with the guy from New York Magazine. About a year later, he took me up to the belly of the beast, like the 40th story in the New World Trade Tower. Wow, that's really nice up there. Anyway, it's good. I guess it's a good business being a working class hero these days, which those guys make themselves out to be. Condé Nast. Same thing. It's like we're sitting there talking. He didn't do a story either because he wanted the wild-eyed, crazy person, not the guy who knows a hell of a lot more reporting than he'll ever know. And he didn't want to talk to that guy. But I kind of asked him too. I said, hey, what's up with all the black on Jewish violence up here? Nothing. And so there's the New York Times going, hey, what's going on there? Okay, so they can't take the next step and take a look at a video like this and say, oh, yeah, it's been happening a lot. The New York Post, every once in a while, they'll do a story going, yeah, lots of violence against Jewish people. Here are the videos. I've done a ton of these stories. They're not hard to find. If you go down to Brooklyn, go down to Williamsburg, the people down there will tell you what's going on. And whether you call it a hate crime or not, there's an enormous amount of black on Jewish violence in New York City and other places, Baltimore, Philadelphia, LA, San Francisco. We've documented that here. What was it? Just they had another example in a synagogue just a couple days ago. This black kid that the New York Times actually did a big story on last year. Turns out he was in the synagogue writing all these Nazi messages, writing all these swastikas. People in New York know there are not people in hoods or people in Nazi uniforms running around beating up Jews. They know where the violence comes from. Hell, a lot of the fellas up there think black people deserve think Jewish people deserve that treatment. Lots and lots of jealousy. Lots of hate. Lots of people, reporters and public officials, just don't want to tell people what's going on because that would make the black kids angry.